Senator Cortez Masto from Nevada is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today. I know one of my colleagues already talked about manufactured housing. I'm going to touch on this because we don't talk about manufactured housing enough and the potential for it. I know Mr. Rust, thank you very much, wrote an incredible book here. And very thoughtful about families who lived in manufactured housing. To my colleagues, this was in 2007. If you haven't had a chance to read it, please do. A few months ago, HUD announced a request for applications for a new program. I think you've talked about this, to fund new roads, water, sewer, tornado shelters, and other infrastructure improvements. It's called the Price Program in honor of Congressman David Price, who, by the way, wrote the foreword here in the book. And I led the bill for the Preservation and Reinvestment Initiative for Community Enhancement, the permanent program. And why is this? Because I see the benefits in my state. But Mr. Russ, can you explain why the 8.5 million Americans who live in manufactured home communities deserve special consideration and investment?
So thank you for that question. I've visited manufactured housing communities in Nevada, and this is clearly an issue there, the cost of rehabilitating a community, the cost of infrastructure investment. This is something that the Price Act will address, and I think it's strongly needed. So why are people living in manufactured housing? What are the reasons for that demand that exists? It's because it's affordable. It meets the needs of people who are seniors. It meets the needs of workers who may be working in a community where there's not a large set of construction workers, so rural areas.
Thank you.
Manufactured housing communities can be a very nice place to live. They are communities, right? But if they're being disinvested in, and I would say if you go around to your local neighborhood and look for the neighborhood that is the least, that is receiving the least amount of capital, it's probably a manufactured housing community.
That's right, and that's the unfortunate piece about this, because there also is some stigma associated with a manufactured housing, which there shouldn't be. This is an opportunity for so many people to have a roof over the head and have it be affordable. I know one of my colleagues talked about private equity coming in and purchasing up a lot of these. I have concerns about that. We see that just in housing in general in Southern Nevada, and it is an issue that we need to address, these high costs. Mr. Russ, let me ask you this. In Nevada, 86% of extremely low income renters are severely housing cost burdened, meaning renters that are spending more than 50% of their income on rent. And rents are only going up. Since 2020, rents have increased between 20 and 30% in some parts of my state. As families are forced to spend more and more on rent, they are left with fewer resources. We know that. How do additional fees imposed on renters, like application fees, processing fees, and so-called convenience fees, exacerbate these high costs of rent?
So that's a great question. I think it gets down to, if you're going to comparison shop, if you're going to look on a platform and you see 10 different potential places to live, and some of those listings are all in price and some are partitioned where there might be fees that you don't even know about, well, that makes it very difficult to comparison shop. It puts well-intentioned landlords who are being fair at a disadvantage with landlords that are playing these games. So yes, and I think what we're seeing are cases where consumers are paying rent on time in their community, in their manufactured housing community. Private equity comes in, they buy the park, they add $400 in fees, and suddenly it becomes groceries or paying the rent. Or even if I have to leave, I may not be able to take my home with me, so I may actually lose that home.
That's right. That's right. And nobody should have to make that decision, but unfortunately there are too many just even individuals that are having, I don't care whether you're a veteran, you're a senior, you're working, hard-working family, there's many in our communities now that are having to make this decision, and that's why we have to address it. More importantly, we have to address these fees and these junk fees that are add-ons. We got to address the housing issue and the affordability of housing, and that's why I'm so pleased there's bipartisan support in this committee to really address these issues, and I hope we are able to pass this for the benefit of so many, not just in Nevada, but across the country. There's more questions that I have. I'm not going to be able to get to everyone. I thank you for being here and your commitment to addressing these issues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Senator Cortez Masto. Senator Warren.